Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Pete Carusone is with us. He has a company called VisionAST. He's the president of that company, taking the industry by storm, doing a whole lot in checking our metrics. And also with us today is another great friend, Jeremy Stevens. He's the Fixed Operations Director in North Carolina at Heister Automotive Group. Pete and Jeremy, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you for having us,
Ed. Thank you very much.
Jeremy, we talk about this quite a bit, technician efficiency and, tracking that. And, I know you are certainly somebody on top of all that in terms of what's happening in retail at your dealerships.
It is. And I was thinking when we were talking earlier, and when I was a technician, I didn't have all these distractions and, the cell phones and TikTok and YouTube videos. So it's a whole different world now, because I didn't even have a cell phone. We had to walk up to the main line at the end of the shop, and they paged you over the intercom that said, "Hey, so and so, you got a phone call on this one." So it's a totally different environment now with just technology and stuff. So the distractions are just limitless right now, for sure.
That's a good point. It's both a blessing and it's a distraction as well. And Pete, you're on top of it, okay, with the numbers that you're tracking, both on the front end and in fixed operations around the country. Pete, what are you seeing as you look around the country and work with dealers on the fixed op space?
I'm certainly seeing the renewed focus on parts and service and the importance it plays in dealership profitability. Obviously, the last couple of years during the pandemic, it was easy to make money in variable operations, and service was what it was. But I also watched a lot of the really sharp operators tune up their service departments during that time, almost in anticipation of it needing to be strong, knowing that it was just not going to last, that those profit margins on the front end weren't going to last forever. So the sharp guys are as sharp as ever, using the tools like ours to really make sure they stay on top of their numbers and train their people. And I think it's a great time to be in the car business, and both front and back end, but certainly in parts and service, and watching guys really put systems and processes in place and use metrics to, measure what they expect and train their people to be professionals and have lifelong careers.
Pete, you've got a great set of tools in VisionAST. Jeremy, I noticed as I talk to fixed ops directors throughout the country that they monitor these metrics every day. And it's a ritual no matter what. Every morning they're looking at this and they're looking at all these numbers to be able to hold people accountable, and kind of want to talk to you about that a little bit today. One of the things that we know is that technician efficiency varies greatly by skill level. Do you want to maybe elaborate a little bit on that and maybe how that relates to the metrics?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a huge range of technicians now. Everybody knows we have a lot of generations working in one store. We have 18-year-olds to 60-year-old technicians, and everybody's skills level's different. Some people like to work on engines, and some people can't stand to work on engines. They much rather do electrical. So you have all this stuff stacked on you and trying to delegate and get the right person for the right job. But then also, part of being, a manager and a leadership is build that relationship with your technicians so their strengths and weaknesses. We had a conversation, with, I have so many different techs where I could give them 3 jobs at one time and they're fine with it. They can get it. I don't have to worry about it. But then if I do that with someone else, it freaks them out. They can I don't know where to start at, or you give them a ticket with 10 concerns on it and they're just clueless on how to start, where to get moving and that stuff. So it's a lot of variables on this, for sure.
Jeremy, why is it important to be able to track metrics, and be able to hold people accountable, and how this all comes into play with the various skill levels that you see out there in the real world?
Well, the reason we track is because I want all our technicians to go home just like they know they did a good job, and not to use it as a weapon or something like that, but it's just an indicator that says, hey, this guy needs some help. And let's go figure out how to help him before 5 o'clock rolls around when it's too late. But let's see what we can do to help him. And usually he may have something going, he or she may have something going on, in their personal life, or it may be just a car that's kicking their rear end, that they just need a little bit of help to overcome that, and then they can get going again. Because in the dealership world, the month goes by so fast, and we had the best intentions going in, but then, I'm looking at it's like the month gets away from you so stinking fast, and it's like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, and you're too late at that point.
Pete, is that how you utilize VisionAST with the metrics there, more as a coaching tool, to help the folks in fixed ops?
Yeah, certainly. It's not effective if it's everyone's enemy and they fear what it's going to tell them. And I think, as Jeremy referenced, relationships and how important that is in coaching and training. And when you're looking at metrics to tell a story or paint a picture or identify an opportunity to improve, it's the numbers. It's not a criticism. It's not a personality issue. It's, here's what's happening. How do we fix it together? And that's where the numbers really come in play, is to take out the emotional part of it and any personal feelings or potential perceived animosities. And it's just, we're dealing with facts here, and you're good at what you do. How do we make you better?
And Pete, I know that what you're very good at as well is breaking it down and, helping to set up something I know that Jeremy believes in, is setting weekly goals and breaking that down to daily flagged hours. Jeremy, talk about why that's important on your end out of the dealership to be able to do that.
So we do it just because you have, like I said, you got different technicians. You got some of them that just want to wait till the end of the pay period and fuss about their hours, but we just want to have a head start, because I'd much rather take off running out the gate. It's like, hey, let's just get your hours in the first couple of days, and everything else is icing on the cake. And what it does, it kind of creates momentum, because we have this tracking board in all our shops, and it's crazy. It's like you'll see them stand. They want you to. They want to be proud of their numbers, and when you start posting these numbers, they feel like they've accomplished it. It's like they stand a little bit taller in the shop. Now, if it's the other way around, then they want their numbers. Nobody really wants to lose. I'm a firm believer in that. I believe everybody has just something that they want to achieve and they want to win. And then it's just, if they have low hours, then that's our indicator. It's like, hey, this guy needs some help. Let's see what I can take to get him back on track, so he's not freaking out about his paycheck at the end of the week.
Pete, I know I've heard that what gets measured gets better, okay, and holds people accountable. How do you do it at VisionAST? What are some of the things that you track? How do you track it? How do you help dealers and managers and folks in fixed ops, hold others accountable and use it as coaching tools?
Yeah, so, leaderboards are important. I know Jeremy has a leaderboard, and it depends. You can show, we have dozens of metrics, some traditional, some of the more hour-based metrics. What we do, I think, is interesting, particularly in larger groups, is we're pulling data every hour. So, that big job finally gets closed. Tech can see the impact on their numbers, or a writer can see the impact on their numbers midday, and push them through the end of the second half of the day, and not wait for the end of the week to see where they stand. And again, that competition, like Jeremy said, everyone wants to win. So having that visibility drives so much performance just out of human nature before you even get into the coaching and the training part of stuff. Of all the things we're doing, one of the things that really excites me is we have what I call a pacing widget on our dashboard. So a dealer can plug in the number of working days in a month, set a goal, and it'll break down all your metrics, where you're performing against that goal by day, where you need to be per day versus where you are currently per day, and then every metric that are impacting that number. So you can say, okay, we're doing great, except clearly it's our effective labor rate's killing us for some reason. Let's focus on that. If that were where it normally is, we'd be ahead of our pace. So that one's been exciting, and that kind of keeps everyone going and honest and on track, by the hour.
Jeremy, you mentioned earlier in the conversation the distractions we have today in the dealership, things that you and I didn't have years ago, okay? But now it's a part of everyday life, right? And, those distractions, cause a lot of folks, technicians included, to feel overwhelmed, okay? And, talk to us about the need for daily management to help set them up for success, including, being aware of these metrics, like Pete's saying, in real time.
So it's it's real important. So we find better success when we just kind of do just one-on-one with each technician. Um, we'll pull them to the side and I'm very transparent. We have here at our Heister Automotive Group, we have core values, and one of them is loves people, and it's our job to make our employees great. And part of that is sometimes I need to pull them aside and really tell them an honest assessment of things they're doing great and things they need to improve on. And a lot of times we pull them together and it's like, hey, you spend an awful lot of time just leaning on your toolbox, and I don't know what you're doing, but from my side, I feel like you're just watching YouTube videos. And then mentally, it would like tag it in their head, and it's like, oh shoot, I probably do, but it's such a habit they don't even realize it. And then the next thing you know, it's like, okay, so he's more assertive, and and plus he knows you're watching at this point also. But a lot of people have this habit; they just don't realize, that they're looking at their phone for excessive time. Because I don't know if y'all ever stroll through Instagram, and next thing you know, you've wasted 15 minutes watching crazy videos. It's like, oh shoot, I just wasted all this time, and you thought it was only 2 or 3 minutes, and next thing you know, you've wasted a lot of time on that. So just that one-on-one engagement, just being open about it, and just trying to work it on from that side of it.
Pete, do you help dealerships and fixed ops directors like Jeremy and many of the other great ones as well, like him? Do you help them with how to coach and how to hold people accountable and help set their people up for success, setting them up for success as well?
We do. What we try to do is every time we make a call, we do follow-up calls regularly just to see how things are going. Are you using the platform effectively, or anything we could help you with? We try to spot 1 or 2 opportunities we see, not only based on our knowledge, or it could be that they've been with us long enough that we've seen a trend in the wrong direction or in the right direction for that matter. Also, we do quarterly benchmarks industry-wide using our whole book of business. So we'll share that with our clients and say, in your part of the country, here's what we're seeing. Let's compare those to your numbers. And, we don't call people out and put them on the spot, but we'll share the numbers and then, review it with them after and tell them, the trends we're seeing other places in the country, and why we think that is, or feedback we've gotten, and try to share, almost create like a 20 group atmosphere using our book of business and the data that's available to us.
Wow. Jeremy, what about things like, we hear the term so often, bottlenecks. I just did a big panel on the reconditioning process, and there's a lot of bottlenecks in reconditioning in particular. But what about the sources of those parts when they're back ordered? Things that we may not be able to control. The parts counter, the service drive early morning, everybody shows up at one time, even though they have appointments staggered throughout the morning. And even technology when it's not integrated or streamlined.
Yeah, and the technology is like the first thing I'll jump on, because a lot of times we spend a lot of money in software, and I feel like everybody I talk to, we only use maybe 30 or 40% of it. And it drives me bad, because it's like, this is really to save time. And, and it's hard to get everybody on the same page. But once you do, then you lose a lot of those bottlenecks. Just like, the old standard one, I interviewed a technician, and they still use paper ROs where they're going to the parts counter. And I can picture it where 3 or 4 guys are waiting at the parts counter, and it's just, it's a social hour. It's like the water cooler thing. And I love that, they have that relationship, but then at the end of the day, that's still wasting a lot of time, because now you times that by 3 technicians standing around with 2 parts guys. So it's important that we train on our guys, make sure you press all the buttons. Everybody's got to participate. And what happens is that once everybody does press the right buttons and, push it throughout the store, you have a lot of people that's able to stay in their seat and be more efficient. You don't have people wandering around, and you know how it is. It's like and the dealerships now are massive now, so there's a lot of walking space. So chances that he's going to go back there and talk to one technician, it's really not going to happen. It's going to stop 2 or 3 times, and the next thing you know, you could lose, hours a day just by not using the software. Because everybody has the early morning rush, and we had to add extra staff in the morning, just to keep that. Whether it's a porter just to keep the cars moving while the advisors get them written up, just little little things like that to kind of keep it flowing on that side of it.
Pete, I know that your company, VisionAST, you're agile and you're fast moving, okay, as well. And I've heard it said before that a lot of the some of the big software companies dealers subscribe to, they like Jeremy said, they only use a small fraction of what that system does, and they may even have forgotten or not be aware of things that their systems do. How does VisionAST help with these efficiencies and help throughout the dealership and help managers and leaders like Jeremy?
Yeah, one of the things I hear most often, particularly in fixed ops, are the amount of hours we can save a director like Jeremy, because they believe in the metrics. We pull some metrics, probably a broader array of metrics than any one dealer would. Everyone's got their preferences, so we're pretty broad in the number of metrics we pull. But most good operators have some process and some metrics that they pull out of their DMS and put in a spreadsheet and do a really good job of them, but it's time consuming. And, I think Jeremy's probably hardly ever in his office except when he's doing that. He's out there coaching and training like he's talked about. And that's the case with most good operators. So we save hours. I mean, that information's right at your fingertips. Even if you don't want to log into our platform, we send email delivery of all the reports to as many people, whether it's all your techs and writers and parts advisors and everybody, leadership at the dealership. Everyone can just have reports sent to their inbox. They don't even have to bother to log in. So you can know with certain that it's in front of everybody without anyone taking more than, a minute to even look at. You're just looking at the information, it's there for you. So that amount of time that is saved can then be used for more important things like coaching, training, and the thousands of other things that need to be done to run a shop every day.
Everybody, we're speaking today to Pete Carusone. He's the president of a company called VisionAST, and Jeremy Stevens, who's the fixed operations director at Heister Automotive Group in North Carolina. Gentlemen, last question for today, and how the metrics enter into our future. Here we are, middle of November, looking out maybe, 6 weeks left in the year, something like that. And then before we know it, we're going to be in 2024. What are your recommendations? I'll start Jeremy first and then Pete to bring it home. For the audience watching today, dealers, other fixed ops directors, managers, things that you recommend that we need to be on top of in terms of the metrics and following them, because the industry is changing rapidly. Pete, you and I were talking about it in the green room, and I think we're going to need to be more aware than ever before of metrics and how they affect our business on a day-to-day basis. Jeremy, first, your recommendations for your peers, and then to Pete.
It really starts with, the metrics, just your technicians producing hours. And that's normally where I go first. And then from that point, just make sure that advisors can sell those hours and, bouncing back and forth from those two numbers. And you'll find a lot of information just by going back and forth with those two numbers. And then also make sure everybody's pressing the buttons on the software, do a software inventory and make sure everybody knows how to use that. I switch ours up where they stop training all the employees and they just train the managers, so they understand it, so they can train it. That's helped out tremendously, but that's pretty much my recommendations.
And Jeremy, is that a daily activity?
It is. It's daily for about 3 months. And then 3 months, you kind of develop this habit, and then you just got to maintain it. So that's when you just I put calendar reminders once a week. It's like, hey, just spot check, make sure, this is being done right and this is being done right. So you just have to maintain it from that point.
Great advice, Jeremy. Pete.
Well, like Jeremy already mentioned the hours, and I know we've talked a ton about hours, and obviously incredibly important. I always kind of go back to team building and looking at efficiencies between personalities. I talked about taking the emotion out of things. Again, you can find a lot of opportunity based on just looking at numbers and techs working with advisors. And are there conflicts there? Are there trust issues, personality conflicts, perceived personality challenges where an advisor might not be selling work for some reason that's beyond the obvious, where you can spot those opportunities quickly with the data and then address those and build stronger teams and eliminate some of those barriers that are invisible. You don't even know are there until you start really digging into the numbers, and they jump out at you once you do, and then you can address them one at a time. And there's a lot of efficiency there that I think gets overlooked. You know, we look at the individual, but it's a team. Are you looking at how the team's working as a whole, as a whole unit? And I always think that's a very important place to spend some of your time.
Everybody, VisionAST is amazing software that's available now for dealers. Some of the best dealers in the nation use it. Pete Carusone is the president of that company, and he helps you spot those opportunities. And Pete, we're very grateful to you for all you do for our industry, and also amazing to see your growth over the last 4 or 5 years in all that you do in our industry. And Jeremy, you know, you've become a powerhouse as well at the Roundtable, you know, with all the things that you're involved with. So I want to thank both of you and wish you and your families a very happy Thanksgiving next week as well.
All right. Thank you, Ted.
Thank you, Ted. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Well, thank you. Pete, if we want to reach out for more information, our audience wants to learn more about the opportunities that VisionAST can help uncover, what's the best way to reach out and get a hold of?
Pete at VisionAST.com, or just on our website at VisionAST.com. And my phone number is 518-375-2543.
Super, everybody. Best in the business, VisionAST. Pete Carusone has been working on this a long time and fine-tuning it and perfecting it, and it's the leader in the industry. Jeremy Stevens, thank you for all you do as well in fixed ops. Pete Carusone, everybody, and Jeremy Stevens here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you very much, Ted. Thanks, Jeremy. Good to see you.
Thank you.